Welcome back, guys. Happy New Year. Okay, we are going to be looking at your 2021 report via your zodiac sign to see what can be coming up, warning dates, transformations, the unexpected, and the beautiful growth within the domain of both Saturn and Jupiter with that conjunction that just did transpire on the 21st of December 2020. Now, Saturn transited into Aquarius on the 17th of January, and the conjunction point, as I mentioned, occurred on the 21st of December at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, Saturn spent approximately 2.5 years in Capricorn, and we did previously have the nodes in both Cancer and Capricorn. And I am seeing towards the end of 2020, with the full moon in Cancer and the heavy Capricorn placements in January, these themes are bouncing off in a karmic test to get that foundation right, to really get that accountability there so that all that we've learned we can apply it in this given situation within the age of Aquarius to get the best out of that astrology. Saturn connects to rules, discipline, responsibility, maturity, structure, challenges, restriction, enduring, death, the unknown, and endings. But it's really like a quality system to make sure that we're ticking all those boxes, learning those lessons, taking that direct accountability. And it's almost like the harsh karmic energy, but there's benefits in that. It's the lessons like a teach they teach us to really put that best foot forward, that if we do such with Jupiter, we can get the very best out of those placements. They can link to rights and responsibilities, obligations, false sense of freedom, and self-management. But it's really that self-mastery that it's going to teach us. And especially when it does go retrograde this year, it's a time to reflect upon what we've learned, what we've implemented, and as it goes direct to then make those changes. Theoretically, Saturn is at home in Aquarius. It's its natal ruler. Now, as I mentioned, Aquarius feels quite at home with Saturn. We also have the subcategory of Uranus being linked to it. That connects to the 12th house. So we have both the axis of the 11th and the 12th house themes coming through. Subject matters linking to Uranus and Taurus this year will be coming up because we have 3 squaring aspects. We also have at the beginning of January, Uranus and Taurus going stationary direct on the 1st and direct by the 14th. So sudden changes in those areas can be coming up in a very unexpected way. Aquarius really is the humanitarian of the zodiac sign, wanting to make the world better, looking at those social institutions that aren't working, transforming them, changing them up. The mantra is I know, and the tarot card is really linked to, with Aquarius, the star card in the tarot. The great connection of time. Saturn requires us to utilize that energy effectively, merge with that 11th house placement with where it's falling in your birth chart, which I will discuss in this video, to get the best out of the situation. And the yin yang, the push-pull energy that will be coming up is Uranus and Taurus making squaring aspects to Saturn in Aquarius. So what themes can we have coming up with Saturn in Aquarius? Definitely the energy of responsibility and accountability, and it can be very karmic if we do not follow suit with it. Now, with Uranus and Taurus, it can cause nervous energy, especially when it relates to anything of the tactile, financial related dynamics. And again, it will very much depend upon where it's situated in your chart, which I will mention. So with that, both with the 11th and the 12th house, this push-pull psychology surrounding the situations you're doing, it can be quite a burden. So having to really self-master, having to be extremely organised, and it's almost like, okay, we can see the blessings with Jupiter and Saturn being directly linked together, but what we're going to do to make those things happen, but not biting off more than we can chew, burning that midnight hour, so to speak, waking up at the crack of dawn to make that hope and dream come true. Really taking the direct steps of accountability with Saturn. And yes, with the sudden changes, it's almost the intuitive side. The house of our hidden enemies is going to be our psychology, really. What potentially could we expect? We could expect very much philosophies to come up. Humanitarianism, scientific revolution, music, dance, arts, group activities, more conducive relationships. There can be this notion coming up in 2021 and beyond where we have tribe and pack mentality. So initially we will need to adjust to the energy of Aquarius. If you do study zodiac signs, Aquarius, when they're born and they're growing into that energy, initially do feel like the black sheep of the family. They have very, very firm ideals. They really do fight for the underdog. So, initially it can feel like they're on the outside with those burdens and responsibilities. As we move into this, a lot of us can embody some of that frequency, and it can feel very foreign and alienating initially. But again, with the psychology of the 12th house, we do need to really have a goal in mind. That can be for the bigger picture, where we are learning to have alliances, learning to work together. And it can be due to circumstances that do happen in our own lives personally, or on a wider scale, a global situation that is pulling us together to make us directly work with each other. The old theme of there's no I in team. So, yes, initially pack mentality can come through, but then understanding that for survival will be there's a no I in team, and really being open to that transformation. So I do see a lot of alliances. I do see a lot of people bridging gaps, finding unique ways to work with each other. This can be in collaborations. It can be to do with wider group situations. However it's going to play out, it's almost like we're in the Middle Ages moving to the modern ages. So we're the paved way in this point in time where, yes, in astrology, some do deem this as the recession, but there's the separate energy of the steps that we're taking to move out of this. There can be beautiful aspects. With Jupiter mid-year, it is moving and retrograding back into Pisces. Again, it will be very Uranian energy. Our psychology, time to reflect upon that. With our growth, are we on point? Do we need to look at something differently? Are we getting stuck in our heads? Are we putting our actual action and best foot forward? That will be the time that for a lot of us, it can be a little bit testing, but it's deeply informative also because we will have the time to assess such. So before I mention how this will affect your zodiac sign, I will mention the key dates that we need to mark on a calendar. And that is for Saturn and Aquarius will be direct between the 1st of January through to May the 23rd. By that point, all of your actions, especially when it does link to Jupiter, and I will mention Jupiter dates as well, we will have approximately 6 months really to get buckle down and get these things done. So I really did say, moving into January, it will be really hit the ground running to monopolize upon the Saturn-Jupiter energy to get the best out of your chart. Now, it will be going retrograde from May the 23rd. And it is at 13 degrees Aquarius, and it will stay retrograde until October the 11th. So you can find frustrations and reflection upon that accountability from a karmic point of view around that time, and then applying the changes as it goes direct from October the 11th at 6 degrees until January 2022. That will be at 11 degrees. This will be a very interesting time, Aquarius. So for you individually, what you can find is January can feel a little bit challenging, a little bit overburdened. And, you're visiting your home natal sign. It can really be similar to a Saturn return, depending on, where you are in your life. It may be for some of you, it is. But energetically, it can feel very burdensome initially because you do have Capricorn hitting your 12th house placement. So where it does come to you and your responsibilities in life, the only thing really blocking you can be from a karmic point of view is that Capricorn placement, maybe being overburdened, so to speak, or feeling maybe your mindset and your conditioning of the old is transforming, but it really can benefit you moving forward. So if you do look at all that you have learnt, when we did have the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn, this will be an opportunity to apply those situations and not allow the mind to hold you back. but being very open and fluid during this first week. Now, you will have a new energy that is going to transform in January for you, bouncing off to really change that kind of motion, to change that situation for you. But it can be challenging for you guys at the beginning of this stage with Saturn in Aquarius, but you will find a lot about yourself is going to grow both spiritually, energetically, as well as with your social groups. You may find that people will come towards you for these things. Now, Saturn in Aquarius transit dates, before we move on to Jupiter, we are having Saturn in Aquarius direct from the 1st of January till May the 23rd, where it will go stationary retrograde on May the 23rd at 13 degrees Aquarius through till October the 11th at 6 degrees Aquarius. Now, the direct motion of this will be from October the 11th at 6 degrees through to January 2022 at 11 degrees. Okay, as for Jupiter, now I'm really looking at the charts, and with these placements, we did have, as I mentioned, the conjunction point with Saturn and Jupiter, and that was on the 21st in December 2020. Now, what we have moving forward are some beautiful aspects, but we really need to monopolize upon it, and this is going to take a great deal of accountability with that vision. So with Jupiter, it's showing the vision, it's giving us the energy, it's giving us the opportunities, but we will need to take direct accountability. And we do have a window pocket. Now, in the initial stages, moving into 2021, we have most of the planets direct. We have Uranus and Taurus going stationary direct by the 1st and out of shadow by the 14th. So with Jupiter and Saturn, we have until about the end of January. And then even by mid-January, we're going to be in shadow stage of Mercury going retrograde, and it will be in the house of Aquarius. So it will both link to these big boys in the sky and reflecting upon what all this energy means between Saturn and Jupiter and what we're going to do with it, what some of these themes are. And very much, as I mentioned before, with Aquarius, it can feel like the black sheep of the family. It can be pack and tribe mentality. It's wanting to have this innovation and change, and it's all for the people, but sometimes we can feel like the odd one out. So adjusting to this can take a little bit of time, so it's perfect that we will be having a Mercury retrograde going into shadow by about mid-January and then retrograde by the end of January. So moving into 2021, a bit of reflection on all the placements we hold within our zodiac signs where Aquarius lands, which I have mentioned and I'll continue to. How it's going to affect us, tuning into it. Now, contracts, signing of anything, there can be complications. There can also be additional information coming towards you, especially when it does come to group endeavors and growth. It can be not the best time to launch projects. Far better to, if you are going to launch anything relating to Aquarius, with both Saturn and Jupiter in those placements, better to wait till after Mercury direct. Okay, so the must-know dates with Jupiter. Jupiter is making two transitional points. One, it will be in Aquarius until June 20th, where it does move into Pisces, and we will get a very different energy. And around these dates, it's very important to pay attention to what some of these themes are, because Jupiter will be entering Aquarius again towards the 1st of January, which can be taking on those themes, and it will be at 0 degrees. So initially, we will have Jupiter direct from January the 1st at 2 degrees Aquarius until June the 20th. Now, it's pretty much a month after Saturn would have already been well and truly retrograde. We still have Jupiter direct, so it will land on June the 20th. Then with the retrograde, it's retrograde between the 20th of June at 2 degrees Pisces. Keep an eye on those dates. Till October the 18th at 22 degrees Aquarius. Now, as it moves direct, on October the 18th, it will be in Aquarius until the end of the year, where it will yet again enter. So we have the retrograde point at the middle of the year. As I mentioned, pay attention to those dates, and that should hold you through. Now, we'll talk about how it's going to link to your zodiac sign, what these themes can be. Now, initially, Aquarius, for you, both Jupiter and Saturn connect in with your first house. This can be very personal. It can be how you're showing up in the world, the transformation you're taking, especially moving through January. It can be quite a pivotal point for you, especially linking to your psychology and your viewpoint with the way you are taking responsibility. You also will find that by the time we do have Jupiter retrograding into Pisces, during June the 20th at 2 degrees Pisces, it's hitting your second house placement. And yet again, this will give you a little bit of a bird's eye view into what 2022 could potentially bring for you. So pay attention to these themes. You will see anything to do with your net worth. It can be reassessing how to grow emotionally, physically, spiritually, assessing potentially any habits and psychology surrounding it. This can be vices, eating, speech, the way we think, the way we feel, how we're bringing ourselves to the table, but also with the second house, more so can be your financial resources, your income, your net worth value, and your self-confidence. It can be really transforming. Now, if this is linking to employment or something you're directly doing with Pisces, with Jupiter and Pisces, it will give you an opportunity to assess those things. You know, where is your position in it? What can you bring to the table? This could be even assessing a job and looking at it and thinking, okay, am I getting enough money for what I'm doing? Do I send my resumes out? What do I do with that? I will discuss further into this video the dates of Mercury retrograde, which can be beneficial with that. At the beginning of the month, it is better to actually make sure that you've got your ducks in the row by the first 2 weeks. Anything after that, between the end of January through to February, the end of February, there is a block where your first house placement, you know, doing anything, it's a better time to reflect than actually deal with things. There can be things coming at you. There can be things needed upon you during that time. And it can be more frustrating, you know, things missing, information missing from you. So it's a better time to assess, but get any paperwork sorted prior to the 2 weeks of January. Let's have a look at Uranus and Taurus. Now, it will be stationary shadow by the 1st of January 2021 at 6 degrees Taurus. It then will be direct by the 14th of January at 6 degrees Taurus. Now, the direct motion will be pretty much from January 14th through to August the 20th, where it will be at 14 degrees Taurus. So we have that pocket between January and August where we can have that direct movement with anything that we've reflected upon, all those changes that may have occurred. And the changes can be coming up in the first 2 weeks of January. And although we do have 3 squaring aspects this year with Saturn and Uranus and Taurus, I am feeling, you know, although major astrologers are discussing the fact that we're going to have 3 major shifts when it does come to Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius, I really do feel the beginning of the year is going to give us this theme of what potentially can come through. And I will discuss dates, you know, very much linking into these energies, you know, during the year and, you know, throughout. So the retrograde, the next retrograde cycle is between August the 20th at 14 degrees Taurus and January the 1st at 10 degrees Taurus 2022. Now, the first point of the squaring aspect that we are experiencing will be February the 17th. Now, with that, we will already have Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. It would, by mid-January, we will be having those shadow aspects plus Uranus and Taurus is in shadow cycle. So it can be, again, pretty much anywhere from the 1st till the 14th and the 17th. There can be sudden changes and difficulties when it does come to Aquarius and Taurus placements. Now, the second part of Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn will be on June the 14th. Now, Saturn in Aquarius will be retrograde from May the 23rd till October the 11th. We also will have Jupiter in shadow during this time, moving into retrograde into Pisces by June the 20th. By this point, prior to the squaring aspect occurring with both Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Aquarius, we would have had the annular solar eclipse, the new moon in Gemini at 19 degrees. And we also have Pluto in Capricorn retrograde between April the 27th and October the 6th at 24 degrees Capricorn. So, you know, with this phase during June the 14th, you can find again, major themes to do with the eclipse can be cycling, and that's due to the fact that we have the North Node in Gemini, and this is a brand new moon, so it will be an ending and a new beginning. When it comes to Jupiter, the reflection state and the shadow cycle of that will be moving into effect, so we'll already be feeling that by this point, by the time we have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius. And on top of that, just to make things really, really nice, we would have already had Saturn retrograde. So it's the reflection time. It's the frustration of, okay, where hadn't we taken accountability when it relates to the Aquarius placement? Is it something financial? Is it something in a value system, spiritually? However it's playing out, I'll link it to you once I finish these three aspects. We will discuss, you know, how this is going to affect us all. Okay, now December 24th, we do have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Now, there are major themes on this month occurring that will directly kind of impact this one zone. So we do need to look at those before we do look at Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Now, number one, Uranus and Taurus will still be retrograde, and that's until January 2022. It went retrograde August the 20th at 14 degrees Taurus until, as I mentioned, January 2022. We also, on the 4th of December, had a solar eclipse, new moon in Sagittarius. So it's an ending in one domain and a brand new beginning in another. The other area we need to be mindful of is that Aries and Chiron is stationary direct. It should still be in shadow. By this time, it went direct as of the 19th, but there still can be, you know, this lag and recuperation that we're trying to get. On top of that, we have the Sun in Capricorn. So yeah, really having to look at that accountability within our lives, utilizing that energy that we had at the beginning of the year and looking at things to do with our accountability showing up. It can be government related dynamics, but the accountable energy and going back to that foundational level. Mars also is going to be in Sagittarius. So both with the eclipse and with Mars, it's really pushing towards those new Jupiter energies in a very unique way. Now, Aquarius is the polarity of the collective. It's the it's the person that understands, or energy rather, we should say. It's the collective energy that will be coming through, but it's the humanitarian. It's groups forming, it's the people, so to speak. So wherever it's falling in your chart, it's going to be deeply important. Now, Uranus and Taurus understands the requirements for the structures, but also is understanding the necessity for change when it does come to Uranus and Taurus. So we need a balance of both worlds, but there can be complications surrounding those energies. And as Uranus and Taurus goes direct, and it kind of matches because we'll have Venus retrograde in Capricorn, the Sun in Capricorn, putting your energy into that to make these things happen. Mars in Sagittarius, the solar eclipse that occurred, which was a new moon, and for the next 6 months we can have activations on that point, plus Uranus and Taurus squaring on the 24th. So do expect either side and pretty much the entirety of the month, you know, being prepared, looking at those placements, working on those areas so that when it does come to the squaring aspects, you're in alignment. Now, sudden changes can happen with placements linking to Uranus and Taurus, and it can be instantly. Now, this can happen anytime either side of this month due to the fact that the energy of its squaring is occurring on the 24th, but because it's retrograde, any inklings you have, and I'll name the dates again, between August the 20th, be prepared. Start looking at those things that need changing. Yes, sudden changes may have happened around then. It can give you an idea as to what can be coming up right now, and start implementing them before that time. Really use those times in the retrograde effect to implement those changes of where those, you know, tension points were in life, so that when it does come to that point, you know, you're not going to have a very tense Christmas. Now, because we're having Aries and Chiron direct, yes, our wounds are relating to an area, but we can't allow our wounds to stand in our way. And it's beneficial that it's direct. We can have a little bit more energy moving out of our way, so to speak. That's why it's there for, you know, for the 7 years, is to help us develop that. But looking at the key themes of both Taurus and Aquarius to get the best out of it, and trying to find the yin and yang. Now, Taurus collectively can relate to land, agriculture, beauty, our finances, food, resources, and Aquarius is the wider group energy of the people. Again, it can be institutions, it can be viewpoints, it can be value systems, helping one another, sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. So it's going to be this fine line, and, you know, even moving into the beginning of 2021, really adjusting to that. And the benefit will be that, you know, we'll have that pocket time to kind of ease into it, but it can feel a bit like it's thrown upon us. So bear in mind there can be tension points there. Any themes that come up around August, pay very close attention. Fine tune them, move them so that you're protected. I'd probably say if you want to store, you know, get your Christmas presents in order well and truly before the end of the year. Start, you know, paying for those things little by little, so that it's not going to agitate the apple cart. That can be wherever, again, which I will talk about for your zodiac signs during the year and inside this video separately, where we can discuss what can be coming up for you. Okay, Aquarius, let's look at the first placement. Now, that's February the 17th. Now, Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius links to both your first and your fourth house. And the tension points can come up, and that could be how you're showing up in the world, you know, your group activities, the way people are seeing you, as well as home-related dynamics. And it can be domestic-related situations, your routine. So it's going to be important, and especially because, you know, you well and truly know this. Being an Aquarian, it's, you know, it's tribe mentality, but it's also can come across as pack mentality. So there could be tension surrounding both your resources if you're wanting to purchase a home, or group activities, and that can be the domestic situations, you know, the cleaning, the cooking, the chores and things to that degree, or your routine, the pressure that you have on you. If it is merely down to you and it's you're trying to transform that, and that can be, you know, getting debts under control, maybe attaining accommodation, moving home at that point, you can see sudden changes happening, and that can be yin and yang. But again, because it's squaring, there can be tension. Now, between January to mid-January, get all your paperwork done, very much linking to the first and the fourth house. So if there's anything you need to tie up in a sense of loose ends, and, you know, taking the bull by the horns, getting those things done, get those things done. But there could be changes when it does come to your living arrangements and your daily routine. So get organized, prepare for 2021, and you should get the best out of that situation. Signing of documents, difficulties, really best to wait when it does come to situations like this until February the 21st, when Mercury goes stationary direct. Now, again, if you are needing to sign contracts relating to leases and things, it would be better to do that prior if possible. Otherwise, there could be some sense of delays. Now, the second part is June the 14th. Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn. Yes, again, it can be difficulties. Again, if you do pay attention the entire year to the first house placement and the fourth house placement, being very organized, getting things done, the importance of that. If there are subject matters that are difficult, that are going on, really looking at those things, talking about those things, communicating it, and transforming it about. Now, Saturn in Aquarius will be retrograde during this time, and it would have been from May the 23rd till October the 11th. So tension points can be coming up when it does come to how you're showing up, you may be reflecting. So you might be internalizing things and not articulating them as much. You may be looking at, you know, okay, what was my part in those situations? And Jupiter will be going into shadow as well, which will be your very first house placement. We also had the eclipse that connected in with Gemini, and for you, this is your creative projects and maybe romances, your luck, anything that you're launching and things to that degree. Tune into it at that time. Plus, we will have Pluto in Capricorn retrograde, which is your psychology, your 12th house, your hidden resources. Tune into it, both with the 1st and the 12th house placement. Tune into it and see what you come up with. Try and not get stuck in your head. It is very temporary. And through this adversity, you will find some sense of solutions, but Uranus and Taurus can bring those without, you know, really us looking for them. So it's almost like where the cards fall is where they fall, and picking up those pieces and transforming it. Now, the final part for 2021 is on December the 24th. Now, major things are happening on this month, which, you know, follow me on YouTube and I'll give you all the transits week by week, so that you can get the best out of the astrology. These are the main themes, but there are other aspects that can be made that can cause difficulty, complications, beauty, growth, etc. So, you know, with December the 24th, we will have Aries and Chiron direct by the 19th. So this will, you could be a little bit tired by this point. Even though it's not Mars, it's Mars element, and you do tend to feel a little bit fatigued. Now, your Aries placement can come through in communication, movement, cars, your daily routine. So more the short journeys and the things that you need to do. And of course, because we do have the axis of both the 1st and the 4th house placement with Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius, you can feel this tension building. Now, during this time, Uranus and Taurus will be retrograde, and that will be till January 2022. So the reflection on home-related dynamics, your daily routine, you're still reflecting upon it. So you may feel that it's hard to implement certain things. That can be the difficulty. Also, we would have had the solar eclipse, which is a new moon in Sagittarius. And for you, this links to your 11th house placement, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. So although a brand new pocket and a bubble is coming through, especially with the sun being in Capricorn and Mars being in Sagittarius, it's very highlighted with that south node of Sagittarius for you. So any hopes, dreams, aspirations, looking at it, okay, what would you need to do to turn over that new leaf? What were the themes playing out around that time? And as Uranus in Taurus goes direct in 2022, it's then you can find that things do flow, and some of those arduous energies that you're dealing with, you can actually push that ship forward when it does come to home related dynamics, family, home, you know, domestic related situations. And it will be difficult because we do also have Venus retrograde in Capricorn, and that's from the 19th till January the 1st. And so your Venus house is Leo. Pay attention to heart chakra activation, as well as you might be coming through headstrong, very firm in your beliefs. But because you do have, you know, Saturn direct, you may have a big vision, but it's divine timing when it comes to these things. So pay attention to these house placements. Also for you, you know, spiritually, you do have Capricorn in the 12th house. So both the sun coming through, it will be psychology, belief systems, Venus, when it comes to your marriages, contracts, partnerships, your work, your romantic partnerships. All of this can be really looked upon with, okay, how do I feel about these things? And before making any rash judgment, wait till Venus goes direct and Uranus and Taurus goes direct, and then these home-related dynamics may have a solution to them. But sudden changes can come up, and complications and tension. Now, I'm only going to briefly touch on Pluto in Capricorn because it is sort of counteracted by Saturn and Jupiter, so it will ease up. We have had a lot of heavy placements. Now, January can be a large point of this, and December, because we have a lot of placements there. Plus, when the retrograde effects happens, I check in with you month by month, and I do give you the daily updates. Now, the direct cycle will be from January the 1st at 24 degrees Capricorn. and we're having a Mercury retrograde shadow period by mid-month, so that can be anything Aquarian related, what we need to tie up, miscommunication, crosswise, but anything relating to those loose ends, get paperwork done in the first 2 weeks, and you pretty much got through to April 27th. Now by April, anything relating to that Capricorn placement, there can be reflection upon those things, refinement, and that will be from April the 27th at 26 degrees. The higher in the degree point it gets, the more critical the aspect. We're doing 24, and 0. There's certain critical degree points that can be pretty harsh. So retrograde as of April the 27th through to October the 6th at 24 degrees Capricorn. Then from October the 6th through to January 1st, it will be direct, and it goes retrograde again, 2022. Okay, for you, beautiful Aquarius, it is connected to your 12th house. So there can be things that you're needing to let go of, psychology, health, viewpoints, but these can come up between January and December. But I will cover this in 2021 with my week-by-week check-ins. Okay, let's have a look at Neptune and Pisces. 2 things to mention before I get into the dates of the directs and the retrogrades is I will mention the astrology during the month, how these things are playing out for you week by week, as well as Jupiter is going to be transiting mid-year into Pisces. So this will be a double whammy for Neptune and Pisces. We're also going to have, let me have a look at the charts for Mars. Okay, more towards October and December, there can be these things coming up, but let's have a look at the dates. Now, on January the 1st, we will have Neptune direct until June the 25th at 23 degrees Pisces. Its retrograde date is June the 25th till the 1st of December. So there can be deep reflection in this area, which again, I do remember we do have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius around that time. So it'll be retrograde till then, going stationary direct. And again, it can be sometimes quite slow moving. So any of those areas that maybe you haven't launched, transformed, change, or the house that it's linking to, which I'll talk about shortly, there can be tension points there. Now, it will be pretty much direct from the beginning of December through till the end of this year into 2022. And it'll be at 20 degrees Pisces. Let's have a look at the placements. Okay, for you Aquarius, this is your 2nd house placement. So when we do have Jupiter retrograding into Pisces, as well as Neptune retrograding on June the 25th at 23 degrees, subjects to do with your self-worth, your value, your self-esteem, your emotions can be under reflection. As it goes direct, you can really implement those changes, and it's not to say with your hopes, dreams and aspirations and your endeavors they can't be, but it's going to show you where these things need to transform and change, and you will actually have quite a bit of luck in 2022 when it does relate to any subject that you're researching, studying, looking at, wanting to develop. Look at that during that time and you'll get the best out of the transit. Follow me live and you'll get the up-to-date information, and that will guide you through that process. Okay, let's have a look at Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury is going retrograde 3 times this year. And some of these subjects we need to look at because they're going to highlight different places of our chart. It will be direct from the 1st of January until mid-month. Now, we're going to get that shadow cycle, and it's going to be in the house of Aquarius. Now, this is going retrograde as of the 30th, but mid-month you can feel some of those shadow aspects. So it will be pretty much from January the 30th at 26 degrees Aquarius, retrograde until February the 21st at 11 degrees. Now, that's most of February. So if there's anything paperwork related or wherever that falls in your house, pay attention to that retrograde cycle, and it can cause some frustration. Now, from there, it will be direct from February the 21st, 11 degrees Aquarius, until May the 29th at 24 degrees Gemini. Now, a lot of subjects relating to Gemini will come up during the next retrograde cycle, and that is between May the 29th 24 degrees Gemini. Remember, we've got the North Node in Gemini. Until September the 27th, 25 degrees Libra. Okay, from that point we have the direct motion, and that will be from October the 18th, 10 degrees Libra, until January 2022, 28 degrees Capricorn. So a lot more Capricorn themes coming up in January 2022. So what themes can be coming up? Now, the first retrograde is Aquarius energy. Pay attention to that cycle between January and February. The next retrograde is between May and June, and it's in the house of Gemini. The third one is between September and October, and it's in the house of Libra. So again, I will talk about this for your zodiac sign. Food for thought, remember these dates. Okay, Aquarius. Now, the first transit by mid-month you're going to be feeling, and that's because it's going shadow retrograde by mid-month January in your house. Now, you can have some reprieve, and there can be a lot of focus on your first house placement of how you're showing up in the world. Maybe wanting to change your appearance. There can be also some tension points when it does come to your thinking, speaking, feeling, and the way people are seeing you can just be a little bit frustrating, and more things can be coming at you. In a sense of psychic downloads, but frustration. Now, it will be going direct after February the 21st. Now, from February through to May, we have a lot of energy coming up in Gemini. Now, remember, the North Node's in Gemini, so it's that of which we're meant to move towards. And these can be your creative endeavors. It can be luxuries, happy pastimes, looking at unique ways you can do things very locally as well. But it can be romance, children, and luck, and co-creating. It's very creative in a sense. So there can be a lot of things playing out linking to this during that time. Now, between May and June, this fifth house placement can be under review. And anything you were trying to launch, do, there can be restrictions and frustration, miscommunication relating to it. And that's between May and June the 22nd. Okay, so from June the 22nd, you will have some reprieve, and you'll be able to pursue those creative endeavors. It can be lighter in this, and it can be all of those things you reflected upon while it was retrograde you can now reconnect with. This can be savings, it can be projects, launching of such. It is a more positive time during June the 22nd and onwards because it's stationary direct. From September, we have it in Libra, as I mentioned. For you, this connects to your 9th house. This can be to do with movement and travel. When it enters this place, it is moving into retrograde, so there can be some delays. There can be issues relating to education. When you're trying to learn, your cognitive abilities might be a little bit more difficult during this time. Concentration. Try and have patience, but there can be a lot coming at you. So make sure during the year, if you're doing anything study related, that well and truly prior to Mercury retrograde in Libra, you have those things balanced. Even if it's marketing, advertising, or dealing with foreign countries when it relates to work, this can be a point of tension and frustration and confusion. And it can even be misunderstandings between siblings and things to that degree. Very separately, as it goes direct, you can then apply your findings and have movement in those domains, and it can flow more easily. And that will be between the 18th of October till January 2022, where it will move back into Capricorn, ready to go retrograde again. Okay, Mars transits for you guys. Now, there can be tension points moving into 2021 relating to the placement of Aries. Now, Mars has been in Aries for a while, and it has been putting a lot of pressure on your 3rd house placement. That can be travel, movement, your day-to-day living, your thought processes, your communication, and the things that people say. Now, January the 6th, it's moving out of Aries and into Taurus. So from the 7th, it'll be in Taurus, and it'll be there till March. So for you, it can be home-related dynamics, and your energy will be pouring into the focus in this domain. This can be to do with your daily routine. It can be domestic situations. It can be buying a home or what you would need to do to move things around. It can also be land taxes and payments. Then from March, we're going to be having Mars moving into Gemini, and from March through to April, you will be focused on creative endeavors, and it can be really pivotal that you focus on it, especially being that the North Node's there in your creative pursuits. So anything romantic, luxurious, fun, co-creative energy, children, birthing of children can come through in this placement. So these can be subjects that can come up. It can also be Mercury related, making sure the paperwork's done, getting things done, towards that house. But there can be a lot of passion and energy put into that 5th house placement. Then from April through to June, you have it in Cancer, which is healthy boundaries, family-related dynamics, getting your health in order, making sure that you've got your habits under control. You're not allowing circumstances to override you, but subjects to do with that can be coming up. Health, pets, work, your routine. So it's a good point between April and June the 11th to get health in order. Now, June through till July, you have the 7th house placement. This can be a lot of energy in your relationship sector, marriages, contracts, partnerships, work, and really focusing on those domains, pouring your energy into it in a healthy way, but subjects relating to this can need tying up and cleaning up. But also a lot of energy will be emphasized in these domains. From July till September the 14th, it's transiting Virgo from the 29th, so 8th house placement. Taxes, legacies, sort of makes sense because we're going to have Pluto retrograde, so it's 8th house placement, making sure that there's commitment on both ends, give and take in situations, deeper connections, looking at taxes, debt, what else could be? Your ability to bounce back, legacies, wills, inheritances. So subjects to do with this can come up. From September the 14th through to October the 30th, we have Mars transiting Libra. For you, this is to do with your education, schooling, foreign countries, networking, spirituality, taking a connection to the next level. Subjects to do with siblings can come up as well. So 9th house placement themes can be playing out, and a focus will be very heavily emphasized in this domain. So making sure you've got your up-to-date information, you're studying, you're in alignment, you're on the right track and path, and checking in with where you're at in life. Now, from October the 30th through till December the 13th, we have Mars transiting Scorpio, and heavy energy will be linked to your 10th house placement. So a lot of career focus, a lot of where is the work at, putting a lot of energy into work, putting a lot of emphasis on where do you want to be, are you doing the right thing. After that, we do have from December the 13th through to 2022, we have Mars transiting Sagittarius. And this can be a very social time. You've got a lot of activations in your 11th house. It also can be crosswise with people. There can be agitation in all of these places. But if we're using it healthily, it can be things that are really calling upon us to focus on those areas. Now, hopes, dreams, aspirations, networking, new friendship groups, new pastimes and hobbies can be coming up. And we do have Uranus and Taurus squaring at that point. Now, moving into 2022, it's going to bounce back into your 12th house, which can be not so fun, but it's there for a reason. And providing you're doing the work and that energy, you can be looking at the psychology and what's hidden from you at that time, but we'll check in then. Last points, Venus retrograde. Now, that is occurring December the 19th until January the 1st. The other point I do want to mention is Chiron Aries. Now, that retrograde is occurring from July the 15th at 12 degrees Aries until December the 19th, 8 degrees Aries. So pay attention to those times. You can feel a little bit fatigued during that time and irritable, linking to the 8th house. But because we have Mars transiting other signs, subjects relating to Sagittarius will come up towards December due to the fact we have the eclipse. Okay, as for your eclipse dates, we have the eclipse in May the 26th, a total lunar eclipse, which is a full moon in Sagittarius at 5 degrees. We then have an eclipse in June 10th, which is an annular solar eclipse, new moon in Gemini at 19 degrees. And then November the 19th, it's a partial lunar eclipse, full moon in Taurus at 27 degrees. And then finally, in December, on the 4th, we have a total solar eclipse, which is a new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees. Again, I will follow these live for all your up-to-date information and energy relating to the astrology. So if you have listened through this far, thank you very much. Take care, beautifuls. I'll see you soon. Again, if you do want a booking, the link is below. I'll see you during all the super chats and the live updates during the month, and we'll check in at the next stop to see how your zodiac sign's going. Love and light, guys. See you soon.